So I got this email last week, and to be honest, they're the type of emails that kind of pull on your heartstrings. I see them so many times, and the reason they do is because I kind of know the outcome, all right? And without a fix, it's a vicious cycle that traders go through time and time again. So I'm going to read the email out for you, all right? And this is going to connect with many, many people, right? And then I want to break down what the problem is and how we're going to fix that problem. Now, this is the email. And it says, I'm not going to name names. I lost $5,000 in evals. I passed several challenges, but never made it to payout. I'm effing desperate. I want you to keep a key eye and think about that. I am, I'll say fucking desperate, but you know, broke. I'm a father looking for a better life and now have to go back to my full-time job as I've used all my savings on evals. It's the same pattern. I would say every time. I know what I'm doing. I'm okay. But this happens. I FOMO. I lose the trade. I then revenge trade. I then oversize in that revenge trade. And I do this again and again and again. All I do is end up watching the true setup happening right in front of my eyes after I've done all the damage. This happens so many times. I feel so ashamed. I feel nervous and I'm breaking down. That's the email that I got. Now I get many emails, okay, via my normal email newsletter or whatever it may be. And obviously I get messages in the comments and majority of them are very, very good in YouTube. I tend to get rid of the silly ones or anything like that. But this is going to resonate with a lot of people. And I know the reason this is because it resonated with me on the beginning of my journey as I was going on this trading journey. Now, the scary thing is this trader's, I wouldn't say is undisciplined in relation to outside of the way that he trades or anything like that. I wouldn't say that he's stupid. Right. But what I would say is he's still doing certain things in his trading that is ending up with this result. And most people will just say, oh, that's discipline. You know, you see the comments with new traders or people that are still searching for their strategy. Oh, well, it must just be discipline. It must just be psychology. What they're not understanding is that discipline and psychology is a very broad thing. It's a very wide sphere, should I say, when it comes to that. There's many, many different elements within that. So some people say, well, he must be undisciplined, Fran. Actually, he's not majority of the time. He is not, but he's still unprofitable because of certain things that he's doing in and around his trading. And yes, he lacks discipline when certain things happen, but it's before those things that he has multiple levels of discipline, but then one thing goes wrong, and then that is the trigger for this cycle. Now, before I continue, we're doing a coffee and Q&A. First time that we've ever done, 22nd of March, 5 p.m. UK time. It's free, just come along, ask me any questions, because I don't do live streaming anymore and things like that. People are always trying to reach out to me, so I thought, why not answer all the questions in and around trading, freedom, lifestyle, how you can do this, etc. in a live Q&A with me. We're going to do it via Zoom, so you can jump in there. 22nd of March this month now, when you're watching this video, 5 p.m. UK time. It will not be recorded, so jump in. And of course, there will be limited spots because I want to answer as many questions as possible. There is a link below with the journal as well. Go and utilize those free links, but make sure I see you on the 22nd of March for that coffee and Q&A with myself. So let's dive straight back in. Now, like I was saying, many people would question his discipline, but that's just one area. So when most traders, they're blowing up their accounts, they always assume it's to do with strategy at the beginning. That's what they think, right? They think it's maybe I've got the wrong edge, or maybe I've got the wrong system, or maybe it's the wrong indicators and things like that. So you go looking for better setups. You go looking for more confluences. You go looking for the newest software. You go looking on YouTube for, oh, this is not working. Maybe I can try this strategy or whatever it may be, right? A better entry, or you've had a mentor before and you think it's a better mentor. So if your mentor's good, your original, you probably shouldn't need a better mentor, okay? But that's what you go looking for. But here's what most people are not telling you in this industry. And this industry, by the way, is getting a really, really bad name. Prop firm cycling, gambling, all this TikTok mindset, it's getting a really bad name. And as you know, for me, I try and step away from all the things where it's about how much you earn, look at this monetary, look at this lifestyle. That's not what's going to really, really help you be a trader. But anyway, I digress. So what nobody is telling you is this. Most people know how to do a trading strategy. I can probably teach a trading strategy to any one of my children within a few weeks. All right. That's not the problem. What is the problem is the other side of you. The emotional spiral that happens when you trade outside your edge. Now, I work with people every day. I trade with people every day. And at the end of the day, I ask them, how did you do? And majority of the group are okay, but everybody has cycles. And then there's always one or two and say, that was it. I had a spiral day. And they can have a great day, a great week, great month, and they can have a spiral day. And those spiral days come when you trade outside of your edge. That's when they come, all right? So let me just think about this. Just paint a picture, all right? You miss a clean setup. This happens to me still. You feel the FOMO creeping in because you've missed that clean setup. Is it going to come back to my entry? Is it going to give me that liquidation wick so I can get into the charts? This is what happens. You then take that subpar B trade setup. You take that B trade setup. Now, trading's discretionary, so we're just going to leave it at that. But you're going to take that B grade setup, not your A setup, right? And it loses. Instantly, you have just caused a trigger in your emotional behavioral management inside that now you're in revenge mode. You blame the market. You're not blaming yourself. You're blaming the market because of what you've just done. Now your account's in the red, and nobody wants to see their account in the red when they first start trading. Go and read Best Loser Wins. It'll teach you how to lose. Now, all of a sudden, you're not trading anymore. You're not trading your edge. You're not trading in your aligned state. You're not breathing correctly. Your behavioral management is now gone out the window. You've lost control. And that happens. It still happens to me. It still happens to the best traders now probably on Wall Street. It happens. However, most people go into a mode of then gambling. And this is what you cannot afford to go into. You cannot afford to go into the mode of gambling, because then you've lost all sense of what's actually going on. And, majority of the time, gambling is not going to work out for you. We know that. Now, like I've said, that is not a strategy problem. That is a behavioral problem. And we are all vulnerable to behavioral problems in all walks of life. Do not beat yourself up. You are human. I say this every single time. I have to remind myself of these things. We cannot be perfect, and perfect would be boring anyway. However, we must be aware of these things and the damage they're going to cause long run, especially in trading, if we're not in control of them. Now, you can have behavioral problems and you can go off track. And then you can align yourself and you understand what's going off and you're fine with that. And then the long run, you're planning for whatever that may be. All right. No indicator is going to fix your behavioral problem. Zero indicator, zero mentor if you don't listen to him. Zero books if you don't read them and implement the action are going to be able to fix your behavioral problems. It is not the market. It is not the mentor. It is not your environment. It is not your relationship. It is not your job. It is you not understanding and have a lack of behavioral management. So that's what you need to stop and think about. How do you behave in this world? Got to have a think. Really, really got to have a think. And if you're trying to be perfect, you're going to go against that. Be who you are and just trying to become better at who you are and accept your flaws, accept certain things that are going on and maneuver them and use them like the waves, okay? We're going across and we're going to cross the ocean and we're going to wave these emotions and we're going to try and get to the other side of the ocean. It's very, very simple, but it's hard along the way. It is hard. So that then moves me on to how people think and how I used to think at times. Now, trading is all about probability, all right? We know that. We're looking to try and get the highest probable zones for us to try and take our trade, especially as a reversal trader, looking at liquidity on Bookmap, etc., and things like that from session highs or daily highs and daily lows. But your edge is not just about probabilities. And I speak about probabilities probably too much, all right? Your edge is not just about probabilities. It's about protection. And so what do I mean by that? All right, what do I mean by that? Now, these videos are for traders that tend to be beyond their beginner side, but this is very, very good information for you if you are starting to trade, all right? So when I speak to the traders and I talk about probabilities, don't take a trade from that probability. Don't take a trade from that zone because it's low probability. But it's about protection as well. And I'm going to break it down in 3 points of what I mean by that. I've got three up here, 3.6, whatever. I'm going to break it down into 3 points, all right? Now, point number one is going to be your edge. You have an edge is because, first of all, that's your perception of control. You can't control the markets, but if you have an edge, if you have rules, you have a perception that you are in control. You're not in control of the market, but you are in control of yourself. So your edge is your emotional anchor. That's how you must look at this. When you only trade your edge, you remove this gray area where emotions live. And I always speak about trying to protect that. Think of how wealthy people or powerful people used to be. Castle at the top of a hill or a mountain, or a castle or a manor surrounded by a moat, water. Okay, I'm sure there used to be many bad things in those water many, many hundreds of years ago. But they're protecting themselves. This is how you need to look at your mindset. You need to build a moat around that protection, right? Because these emotions live trying to get into your mindset, your old belief systems, your survival mode. They're trying to get in because trading is uncomfortable. We don't want to be in the gray area. The no gray area equals no internal negotiation, all right? And if you have non-negotiables, as I speak about of all the people that I work with, non-negotiables in your trading and in your life, health and mindset are non-negotiables, you have no spiral. Have you ever noticed if you've ever been in a spiral in your life, it's because you've negotiated with yourself majority of the time, all right? And we're human. You're going to be vulnerable and you're going to lose those negotiations at times. That's fine, as long as we understand what is actually going on in the background. Number two is those B grade setups. A lot of the time they just lose money, right? And then once you lose money, they're going to destroy your state. And then that's going to be the beginning. So the loss itself is not a problem. Oh, I've just lost a trade. That's not a problem. But what the loss does to you on a psychological level is for the next 3, 4, or 5 trades, one bad trade could then become one bad week. And then that bad week can then become a bad month because you've blown all your evals and then you've got to restart again, etc. and things like that. All right. Now, again, in the link below, there is the coffee. But again, there is a journal review, a 30-day journal review. It is free. It's a PDF. It will help you get back on track if you are struggling from trading. All right. So there's a couple of links in there. You go and use them and utilize them because they're really going to help. All right. They're really going to help, and make sure you get involved in the coffee one. I want to see some new faces. I want to get involved with the people who can't, maybe not at the level who can work with me yet on our mentorship or whatever, but there's some free resources. Get involved below. Now, number 3 is going to be a one that people debate, a one that people don't really understand, and that is, excuse me, let me move this. I'm just resting here. That is, discipline isn't willpower. All right. Discipline isn't willpower. Willpower, I've said, it's like motivation. It's like a warm bath. It will go cold. And willpower needs a very, very high level of concentration for you to consistently use willpower. Willpower is when you need to lift a car. All right. And you will lift the car. That's not going to happen every day. All right. So discipline isn't willpower. Discipline is structure. The same boring things time and time again. All right. Remember, willpower runs out. So the traders who last, they're not so much more disciplined than you, right? They've just built systems that makes it harder to take wrong trades. So let me use that as an example. Myself, until I really just systemized and made it mechanical, methodical, whatever word you want to use, and simple of, if I see this at that zone, I'm waiting for this, I'm going to execute here, and this is going to be my risk. Until I defined that, there was a lot of negotiables. All right. And those negotiables then allowed the belief systems that I've grown up through my life and I've had a very eventful, and maybe about 3 or 4 lives it feels like I've had. All these just in a cocktail that would ruin my trading. All right, that's what they would do. They would ruin my trading. So I would take multiple wrong trades, and just continuously blow accounts. Continuously blow accounts. Now, I still blow accounts now because I have a high risk in my evals. When I get to XFAs and funded, I lower my risk considerably. But now, I don't take a lot of wrong trades, as in outside my edge. And that's what structure gives you. That's what the systems give you. That's why for me, the precision system, that's what I call it, the way that I trade. We have a program for that. I teach people how to trade that, all that kind of stuff, all right? That is a precision system. And that's in the Trader OS, which is a trader operating system that we're building. So you have the psychology, you have everything that you need, right? So those are the 3 things. Let me just run that again. Your edge is your emotional anchor. B trades are going to lose your money. But they're not just going to lose the money, they're going to destroy your state at that moment in time. And discipline isn't willpower. Discipline is following a systemized way of doing things day in, day out, whether you do that at the gym, whether your diet, whatever it may be, all right? So let me jump back into the email and let me just say one thing. I want to just insert this thing to you from that email that I thought every trader that I've ever worked with probably says or thinks the same thing at some time in their trading journey, all right? And having watched so many people and trained so many people and coached so many people, I know that this one thing can then wreck their week, month, 6 months, all right? So let me break it down. I'm effing desperate, broke. I want you to concentrate on that. That line alone, and my response to this, I sent a very, very detailed email, was, first of all, you should not be trading. You should not be trading if you are certain, desperate, and broke, and you've wasted $5,000 on evals. It is cheaper to work with a mentor that will give you everything that you need so you don't have to blow $5,000 on evals. Now, what you can see across the board is this. Everybody wants to buy evals and everybody's trying to see this as a game and trying to make money fast and try and get to payout. That's now ending because the prop firm cycle, they've clicked on. They're not letting these degenerate gambling traders do this anymore, all right? Use that money to go and to be taught how to trade. People, and I did this mistake, right? When I first started trading, you think you can learn without going anywhere. And then you see these people on Instagram and wherever they are, I'm not on TikTok or whatever, saying, you don't need courses, you don't need a mentor, you don't need this. They're not understanding. They're probably brand new on the journey. They got one payout and they don't get it. I wish someone would tell them that it ain't about screenshots, etc. It's about this, all right? And 2 years, they'll probably be on something else. They probably did e-commerce for 2 years ago, and now it'll be AI SaaS agency after trading, and then it'll be something else after that, all right? Get educated. This is a craft. My son's started tennis. I have to pay for personal coaching. If he just went online and tried to coach and did this, it's probably not going to work for him. You have to pay coaching. You have to pay for things to get where you need to get to. Stop wasting money on evals. Go and get educated. Just go and get educated. So this is where I think that you must stop trading outside of your edge, all right? There's a time that you trade outside your edge is going to be a big, big problem. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you financially. It's going to cost you emotionally. It has for me in my journey. And the feeling of sitting at your desk and know that you broke all your rules is quite painful. It's shameful, right? It's shameful. Let's be honest. You feel shame. You feel embarrassed. I think I feel ashamed and nervous in the email. I feel ashamed and nervous. You feel ashamed. You feel embarrassed. People asking what's going on. You don't know whether you're coming or going. This is not a trading problem. This is a human problem. But the good news is, my friends, you watch these videos because it's fixable. It is fixable. I'm going to make it very, very simple. You need to keep it simple. You need to define your grade A and you need to make sure it is written down, not in your head until it's concrete, but on paper right in front of you. If the trade doesn't match your criteria, you don't take the trade. It's not your trade. It doesn't exist. It's not your trade. You calm down a little bit. Get a little bit emotional sometimes, a little bit too hyped. All right. So build your trade checklist, and this acts as your circuit breaker. I've got some tremendous traders in the community who have a circuit breaker and stops them from impulse trading and stops them from doing degenerate executions. All right. That's what it does. So, like I say, a lot of traders that I work with and the ones who have transformed the fastest, they're not the ones who have learned more strategies. In fact, it's the complete opposite. They're the ones that have just learned what I've told them. They've added their kind of identity onto it, and they just kept doing the same thing day in, day out, compounding, and now they're seeing great results. They're seeing absolutely great results, and now their edge is in this container. If anybody asks them what's your edge, they can just write it on the back of a napkin, and someone would understand it. All right, that's what they do. So, if you're watching this now and this feels something that you recognize, all right, and you see yourself in that email or any of those patterns that I've described, and many of you will be watching this, right? You must pay attention to that. You must pay attention to what I've just told you in relation to trading and stop paying attention to some stupid things that we see constantly online, all right? So I run like a free trading diagnostics. It's not a sales call. It's no pressure. Okay. It's no pitch. I can help you with those types of things. And click the link below. You will see a work with me link. And there's something about what I do. It tells you exactly what I do, how I help you and get you to that next level. It's really, really good. We only work with a small group of people. We don't want multiple crazy things all over Discord and people getting lost and all that kind of thing. We're not into that. We're into helping traders who want to level up and at the stage where they need to level up. All right. That's where we are at. So click the links, use all the things in the links. Please use the links. They are free. They are for you to get where you need to get to, because we need to diagnose what your problem is. As simple as that. If you don't diagnose what your problem is, how on earth are you going to know to even start? It's not going to happen. All right. So again, use the links. See you soon.